My name's Jessica Hope. I'm the founder of Wimbart, the PR agency that specializes in African tech. Before that, I was global head of communications at Iroko, and I used to work in Nollywood.
Ooh, beautiful. Oh, okay. Let's start with that. What do you think about the industry, movie industry on the continent, from where it used to be to where we are now?
It's definitely changed a lot. In the old days when you would have like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 on the VCDs. And then now you have, say, a film like The Black Book, which is a global smash on Netflix. So that's just in the space of 10 years, 11 years. So market is huge. It's globally very, very popular. And I think that's been powered not only just because there's a huge African diaspora that loves the content, but also like technology has enabled Nollywood producers to be able to share and distribute their content far more widely.
How much has the tech space on the continent benefited from PR? I
would say a lot. When I first joined Iroko in 2011, I would pitch international outlets, the story of Jason Njoku, entrepreneur, CEO, Nollywood, platform, etc. And a lot of international journalists would just say, I'm not going to cover a Nigerian fraudster. That was their,
Whoa,
that was their
bad?
First response, because no one was covering like Nigerian tech. So there was this awful perception of Nigerian internet guys being Yahoo Boys, basically. And so that's what international outlets would say. So it took a really long time to convince them to speak to Nigerian entrepreneurs. Jason Njoku did a lot in terms of engaging in international media. I think he built a product as well that people really understood internationally as well as locally too. It's changed a lot. No one would say that to me now if I pitched a story to a journalist.
How much more do we need to do in the space in terms of PR and telling the right storytelling?
So I think that generally the space does pretty well, but I think that there's a difference between, say, storytelling and, say, just fundraise announcements. So there's lots of fundraise announcements, and that's fine. It's important. It helps founders get in front of investors and attract talent, etc. as well. But I think that now the next stage is to take people along with the journey with companies as they grow as well. So more storytelling. And also I think that in terms of PR, it's important for I think founders and companies as well as to understand what crisis communications looks like in terms of PR, because with any tech space, any emerging market, there's going to be good news stories and there's also going to be bad news stories. And you can make bad news stories not necessarily go away, but they don't always have to be as bad as they often are as well. So I think that founders now need to think about PR in terms of how can they mitigate against sort of negative crisis stories.
In your dealings with tech founders and people in this space, how much value do you think for now they give to PR? And does this also translate to the amount of budgeting that goes to PR in the tech space?
I think a lot of people do value it. I think they see other people doing well in the press and they hear stories about, they were featured in the press consistently and they've attracted investors, or they've been able to attract really quality talent or build partnerships as well. So once they see the results of PR, I think they get it. And I'm really lucky that I get to work with amazing, visionary founders and entrepreneurs. And we've always, until I think in the last 2 months, we've always had a client wait list, which just goes to show that, people do value not just Wimbart services, but, PR in general.
Are there certain stories or perceptions that we still need to correct in the tech space with PR and the right narratives?
I think yes. It just depends on which companies. I don't want to be too sort of broad and general about it as well. But I think in terms of narratives, again, it shouldn't just be fundraise. It's okay, what impact are you having? How are you growing? How did you manage challenges as well? It's fine to say, this was a challenging period in the business and this is what we did to grow. That also helps show investors as well that you have a mature C-suite who are able to deal with the bigger issues as well. But I think that the general narrative will also be we'll look at how the market is going to mature. So we'll see more mergers and acquisitions this year, and telling those stories and being transparent about those stories is really going to help as well.
I was just talking to someone yesterday about something about impact storytelling, and she said, we're not really big on that. We think that you can't really do the impact and profit. You can't put them on the same table, at the same time. Do you think that's right?
You can, and I think it's actually really important for African tech companies to talk about profit and growth as well. because there's nothing wrong with making money, right? And impact is different. Impact doesn't necessarily mean charity. You can run and build a business. You can hire 50 people. You can hire 100 people. You are essentially having a big impact on the local economy, right? Because if you hire those people, then they might hire other people as well. You're paying for, people can pay for, put their kids through school and everything else as well. It's not charity, it's making money and profitability and having an economic impact and making sure that people aren't underemployed too.
So one perception I'd want you to maybe say yes, you've noticed, or no, you haven't noticed, and if at all there's a perception around it, is the glamorization of raising funding. I know you've mentioned, that. Do you think we're glamorizing, over-glamorizing, fundraising?
I don't think so. I think it is important to make fundraising announcements for the right reasons. So if it's just for someone's ego, but at the same time, it's very difficult to raise money as well, and the process is very long. So I can see why people do want to announce it, because it's almost gives closure on that whole process. But also, if you're doing a seed round and you're looking to get Series A, you probably need to make that fundraise announcement in order to then start thinking 2 to 3 steps ahead about future investors as well. That you're open to investments, that, people have already done due diligence on you, etc. And also a lot of people, especially, I say maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, when there was the, tech talent war, it was quite important, I think, for people to announce fundraisers, because no one's going to leave a job for a company that's not well founded, right? So if the battle is very, very bitter in terms of attracting talent, that's another reason why. So I think it's not necessarily a case of glamorizing it. It's more a case of being really intentional about why you are making that fundraise announcement as well. And also, don't forget, it's not always just the founders. Sometimes it's the investors that want to make that announcement.
Okay.
And the reasons the investors want to make that announcement are they want to shout about their portfolio.
Yes.
And they also want to impress their LPs as well sometimes.
Yeah, there's that too. So if you want to speak to some companies, tech startups, who maybe downplay the role and effect of PR, how would you do that?
Not everyone needs PR, and that's the thing. If you have a great network already, you maybe don't need PR to get in front of investors. So you always just have to think about what your business operational needs are, and then how PR can wrap around that. So it's not a case of being dismissive about PR. You can be, but you also have to think, well, what are your competitors doing? Is your business growing and scaling? Are you making the right partnerships? Are you hiring or attracting the right people? Are you able to engage with investors? Are investors coming to you? So it's just got to be, tactical.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for your thoughts.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your questions.